Thank you everyone for watching. In this video, I will be sharing a podcast explaining how it breaks down the book Mindfulness by Joseph Goldstein. Joseph Goldstein had been teaching Buddhism for over 30 years. The best teacher, explaining how the mind is so distracted and not focused within itself and not knowing itself that it's constantly seeking pleasure, is constantly seeking motivation. He breaks it down better yet in a simpler manner that we can understand Buddhism, but we can also apply it to our own lives. The way every religion has their own books, like Catholics have the Bible and other religions have their books, to Buddhists, mindfulness is the book that breaks down exactly our own minds. I hope everyone can enjoy this video. And please, if you have any comments, I hope you all enjoy it. And please share anything you wish in the comments below. And I share all this for your consideration. And I hope everyone is at least trying one day at a time how to better themselves, how to grow spiritually. Because this is the meaning of our journey in life, how to grow spiritually. This is what we are here for. I'll see you on the next one. Enjoy.
Welcome to our deep dive into mindfulness, but not the mindfulness you think,
Right.
We're going way beyond the usual buzzwords, Be present, notice your breath.
Yeah, exactly. We're going deep.
All that stuff.
Yeah, we're diving deep into Joseph Goldstein's book, Mindfulness, a practical guide to awakening, to uncover the richness of this ancient practice.
I'll admit, I thought I had a pretty decent grasp on mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be present, notice your breath, that sort of thing.
Right.
But Goldstein layers in so much more.
Yeah, he definitely goes beyond Mindfulness 101.
Yeah.
He emphasizes that it's not just about passively observing the present moment.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a wakeful, active awareness of what's happening both internally and externally.
So it's not just about noticing a pretty sunset. It's about really understanding the experience of seeing,
Right.
the feelings it evokes,
Yeah.
the thoughts that arise.
Yes.
It's almost like mindfulness squared.
It's about becoming intimately familiar with your own experience without getting lost in it. And Goldstein introduces this idea of remembering as a key facet of mindfulness.
Now, when I hear remembering,
Huh.
I think grocery lists, not deep spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So how does remembering fit into mindfulness?
Yeah. It's not about remembering to pick up milk.
Okay, good.
Mindfulness as remembering is about intentionally recalling and reflecting on your values, your commitments, those things that give your life meaning. It's a way to strengthen your intentions and cultivate positive qualities.
So instead of just passively observing thoughts, we're actively shaping the landscape of our minds.
Precisely.
Okay.
For example, remembering your commitment to kindness might help you navigate a frustrating encounter with more patience and grace. It's like having an inner compass that keeps you oriented towards your values.
It's almost like giving ourselves a pep talk from our best selves.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
But what about this idea of mindfulness as the guardian of the senses?
Yeah.
It sounds intense.
Imagine walking down a bustling street filled with eye-catching displays. Delicious smells wafting from bakeries, and the sounds of street musicians filling the air.
Yeah.
The guardian of the senses doesn't shut it all out.
Okay.
It lets you enjoy those senses,
Yeah.
but without being completely swept away by them.
Okay, so instead of mindlessly buying that pastry just because it smells good,
Right.
I can actually appreciate the aroma without giving in to the impulse to buy it.
Exactly.
That's like having a superpower against those marketing ploys.
Exactly. It's about recognizing how easily we can get hooked by desires,
Yeah.
especially those triggered by our senses. This aspect of mindfulness allows us to notice those desires without immediately acting on them.
Sure.
We create space to make conscious choices rather than being ruled by impulses.
That resonates with me on a personal level.
Yeah.
How many times have I mindlessly scrolled through social media only to realize an hour has gone by?
Right.
This guardian sounds like it could help me reclaim my attention.
Yes, definitely.
Now, Goldstein also delves into the 4 foundations of mindfulness. I feel like we need to lay this foundation before we build the mindfulness mansion, right?
Absolutely. The 4 foundations, body, feelings, mind, and dhammas, provide a framework for practicing mindfulness in a systematic way.
Starting with the body.
Yes.
That seems like a good place to start.
It is. And Goldstein highlights the breath as the anchor of mindfulness practice. But instead of just counting inhales and exhales, he encourages us to explore the breath as a gateway to deeper awareness.
Okay, so how do we go beyond simply noticing the breath?
Think about the subtle sensations of the breath.
Okay.
The coolness as you inhale, the warmth as you exhale, the gentle rise and fall of your chest. By paying attention to these nuances, you not only calm the mind, but you also start to develop a more refined awareness of your physical presence.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like tuning in to a subtle frequency that's always been there, but we've been too busy to notice. What are the second foundation feelings?
Feelings can be a roller coaster.
Yeah, they can.
Goldstein encourages us to observe them pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral without judgment.
Okay.
But this isn't about suppressing emotions.
Right.
It's about creating space between the feeling and our reaction to it.
Okay, so let's say someone cuts me off in traffic.
Right.
Instead of immediately exploding with road rage.
Yeah.
Mindfulness allows me to notice the anger arising without letting it dictate my actions.
Precisely, you create a pause,
Okay.
allowing you to respond rather than react. Maybe you take a deep breath. Maybe you choose to simply let it go.
Yeah.
But it's a conscious choice, not a knee-jerk reaction.
It's like hitting the pause button on that internal drama.
Yes.
What about the third foundation, mind?
Yeah.
Is this where we finally tame those racing thoughts?
It's not about forcing the mind to be quiet.
Okay.
That usually backfires. Instead, Goldstein suggests observing the quality of the mind.
Okay.
Is it restless, concentrated, scattered? By simply noticing those qualities, you develop a deeper understanding of your own mental patterns.
It's almost like being a curious observer of my own mind, instead of getting lost in the whirlwind of thoughts.
Yeah.
I can step back and watch them come and go.
Right.
This is giving me a whole new perspective on how to deal with those days when my mind feels like a runaway train.
Yes, exactly. And that awareness can be incredibly empowering, especially during those challenging times. Now, the fourth foundation, Dhammas, can be a bit more abstract.
Yeah. Dhammas sounds a little intimidating. Is this where it gets super philosophical?
Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Dhammas refers to categories of experience, like mental states or patterns. A key example is the 5 hindrances, those roadblocks to a peaceful mind.
Okay, so what kind of roadblocks are we talking about here? Like getting distracted by social media.
That definitely falls under one of them, sensual desire. It's about getting caught up in wanting things, whether it's that new gadget, that delicious-looking dessert, or even clinging to pleasant feelings.
So it's not that those desires are bad, but that getting fixated on them can throw us off balance and cause suffering.
Exactly. Then there's aversion, which is the flip side of desire. It's that resistance to unpleasant experiences, whether it's a frustrating situation or even physical discomfort. We try to push it away, but that often just amplifies the suffering.
It's like that feeling of, I don't want this, when you're stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult person. Mindfulness helps us to acknowledge those feelings without getting swept away by them.
Precisely. And then there's sloth and torpor, which you could call the blah hindrances. Sloth is that lack of motivation and energy, while torpor is that mental fogginess that can make it hard to focus. They can be especially sneaky because they can feel so comfortable, like sinking into a cozy couch when you really need to be up and moving.
Okay, so we've got desire, aversion, and the blahs. What are the last 2 hindrances?
Restlessness and worry, those mental states that can make it feel like your mind is on a hamster wheel. It's that constant churning of thoughts, replaying the past, worrying about the future, never fully present.
Oh, I know those hindrances all too well, especially late at night when I'm trying to fall asleep.
And then there's doubt, which can manifest as uncertainty about the practice, skepticism about the teachings, or even just a lack of confidence in your own ability to be mindful.
So basically, these 5 hindrances are like the inner critics of mindfulness practice. They can pop up at any time, but we don't have to let them run the show. Now, I'm curious, Goldstein doesn't just focus on the practice itself, he also explores the potential benefits of mindfulness. And you know me, I love a good self-improvement perk.
Who doesn't? And the benefits of mindfulness go way beyond just feeling calmer. Goldstein presents it as a path to awakening a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, sign me up. So what kind of awakening are we talking about here? Am I going to start levitating during meditation?
Maybe not levitation, but you might experience a sense of lightness and freedom as you cultivate greater awareness. One of the key benefits is reduced reactivity. Imagine being able to observe those waves of anger, frustration, or even excitement without getting swept away by them.
So instead of snapping at my partner after a stressful day, I can recognize that I'm feeling on edge and choose a more skillful way to communicate.
That's a great example. Mindfulness helps us create space between the feeling and our reaction, allowing us to respond in a way that aligns with our values. And this reduced reactivity can ripple out into all areas of life, from relationships to work to how we handle those everyday stressors.
That's huge. It's like mindfulness gives us the power to choose our response rather than being ruled by our emotions.
Yeah.
What other benefits does Goldstein highlight?
Increased clarity and focus are major ones. We live in a world of constant distractions, emails, notifications, social media. It's no wonder our minds feel scattered. Mindfulness helps us train our attention, becoming less reactive to those distractions and more able to focus on what matters most.
That's a game changer for someone like me who's constantly battling the urge to multitask.
And with that increased focus comes greater self-awareness. By paying attention to our inner world, we start to understand our thought patterns, emotional habits, and even those unconscious motivations that drive our behavior. It's like becoming your own therapist.
So it's not just about being present in the moment, it's about becoming present to ourselves, to who we really are. And I'm sensing this might lead to greater compassion, not just for ourselves, but for others as well.
You're right on track. As we become more aware of our own inner world, we naturally become more attuned to the experiences of others. We develop greater empathy and understanding, recognizing that we're all interconnected and facing our own unique challenges.
That's beautiful. It's like mindfulness expands our circle of compassion, reminding us that we're not alone in our struggles. This is all sounding incredibly inspiring, but I have to admit I'm also feeling a bit intimidated.
Why is that?
Well, it's like if mindfulness has all these amazing benefits, then shouldn't I be feeling blissed out and enlightened by now? But the reality is I still struggle with distractions. I still get frustrated. I still judge myself. Sometimes it feels like I'm failing at mindfulness.
You're definitely not alone in those feelings. And the good news is Goldstein is very honest about the challenges faced by those who are new to this practice. In fact, he dedicates a whole section of the book to it.
Okay, let's get real. What are some of those common struggles that practitioners face?
We've already talked about those pesky 5 hindrances. They're like those uninvited guests that always seem to show up at the mindfulness party.
Yeah, the party crashers of inner peace.
Exactly. And then there's the struggle with concentration, that wandering mind that can make it feel like meditation is just a mental marathon of distractions. But Goldstein offers practical tips for working with those distractions. It's not about forcing the mind to be still, but about gently guiding your attention back to your chosen object of focus each time it wanders.
So it's a practice in patience and self-compassion. Instead of getting frustrated with myself for getting distracted, I can simply acknowledge it and begin again.
And each time you do that, you're strengthening those mindfulness muscles. And speaking of muscles, sometimes mindfulness can feel like a workout. We live in a culture that values speed and efficiency, so it can be challenging to embrace the slower pace of mindfulness practice. Impatience is a common struggle.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes I just want to fast forward to the part where I'm feeling zen and enlightened. But I'm learning that mindfulness is about embracing the process, not rushing to the destination.
It's like learning to play a musical instrument.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be a virtuoso overnight. It takes time, dedication, and a lot of practice.
And a lot of forgiving yourself for those inevitable off-key notes.
Exactly. And then there's that ever-present challenge of self-judgment. It's so easy to get caught in the trap of comparing ourselves to others or beating ourselves up for not being mindful enough.
Yeah, that inner critic can be a real mindfulness bully.
It can. But the key is to remember that mindfulness is about observation, not criticism. We're not trying to achieve some perfect state of calmness or serenity. It's about noticing those judgments as they arise without getting swept away by them.
So it's about recognizing that those judgments are just thoughts, mental events that come and go and not necessarily reflections of reality. It's like creating a little space between ourselves and those critical thoughts so that we're not completely consumed by them. Now, Goldstein doesn't just leave us to grapple with these challenges on our own. He also offers practical guidance and support for navigating those rough patches.
He does. And one of the key tools he emphasizes is self-compassion.
I'm all for more self-compassion. But what does that actually look like in practice?
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a close friend who is struggling. So instead of berating yourself for not meditating perfectly, you might say to yourself, it's okay, you're doing your best. Everyone gets distracted sometimes. Let's just start again.
It's about being our own best cheerleader, even when we fumble the ball. Now, Goldstein's book goes beyond just the basics of mindfulness, right? He delves into deeper concepts, like the 7 factors of awakening.
He does. And these factors provide a roadmap for deepening our practice and cultivating those qualities that lead to greater freedom and awakening.
Okay, I'm ready for this next level. What are these 7 factors?
They are mindfulness investigation, energy rapture, calm, concentration, and equanimity.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
It is a lot to unpack, but each factor offers unique insights and practices that can enrich our understanding and experience of mindfulness. And the great thing is they're all interconnected and support each other.
Okay, so let's break it down. We've already talked about mindfulness as the foundation. So what about investigation? Does that mean we become like mindfulness detectives?
You could say that investigation, or Dhammavicaya in Pali, encourages us to cultivate a spirit of curiosity and inquiry. It's about going beyond those surface-level observations and really exploring the nature of our experience.
So instead of just noticing that I'm feeling anxious, I might investigate what triggered that anxiety, or how it manifests in my body and mind. What thoughts are fueling it?
Exactly. You start to look for the causes and conditions that give rise to your experience. And this investigation isn't about analyzing or intellectualizing. It's about bringing a gentle, curious awareness to those inner workings.
It's like becoming an archaeologist of our own minds, uncovering those hidden layers of experience. That sounds fascinating, but I'm guessing it also requires a lot of energy.
You're right. Energy, or virya, is another key factor. And it's not just about physical energy. It's about cultivating that enthusiasm, that joyful effort that keeps us engaged in a practice.
Because let's be honest, sometimes it's easier to just stay stuck in our old patterns and habits, even when we know they're not serving us.
It's human nature to resist change, even when it's for the best. But cultivating mindfulness requires that we step outside of our comfort zones, that we bring a sense of vigor and determination to the practice.
So it's about finding that balance between effort and ease, right? Pushing ourselves without getting overwhelmed. Now, what about rapture? That one sounds pretty intriguing.
Rapture, or peti, is a feeling of joy and delight that can arise from deep concentration. It's not something you force, but rather a natural byproduct of a concentrated and joyful mind.
So it's not like suddenly breaking into song and dance during meditation.
Maybe not a full-blown musical number, but there can be a sense of lightness, of buoyancy, even a feeling of deep peace and contentment. And this rapture can be a powerful motivator on the path, reminding us of the inherent joy that's available to us when we let go of clinging and aversion.
It's like we get a little taste of enlightenment, a glimpse of what's possible when we cultivate a mindful way of being. And speaking of peace, that brings us to calm.
Calm, or passaddhi, is the opposite of that restless, agitated mind. It's that sense of stillness and tranquility that allows for greater clarity and insight.
It's like the mental equivalent of a spa day.
Exactly, and with that calmness comes greater concentration. Concentration, or samadhi, is about focusing the mind like a laser beam, cutting through those distractions and cultivating a deep, absorbed attention.
It's that feeling of being completely absorbed in the present moment, whether you're focusing on the breath, a mantra, a beautiful piece of music, or simply the sensations of your body. It's like the world fades away and there's just this sense of peaceful presence.
And finally, we have equanimity. Imagine experiencing the ups and downs of life, the joys and sorrows, the successes and failures, with a sense of balance and composure.
So it's not about being happy all the time, but about being able to ride the waves of life without getting swept away by the extremes.
Precisely. It's about finding that stillness within that inner peace that remains unshaken, even amidst the chaos.
Wow. So we've got mindfulness as the foundation, then these 7 factors helping us to awaken, to cultivate those qualities that lead to greater freedom and peace. It's a lot to take in, but I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
It is a comprehensive path, and Goldstein emphasizes that these 7 factors aren't linear steps, but rather qualities that weave together, supporting and strengthening each other.
It's like a beautiful tapestry where each thread contributes to the overall beauty and strength of the design.
That's a perfect analogy. And as we cultivate these qualities, we not only transform our own lives, but we also contribute to creating a more mindful world.
Now that's something worth striving for. A more mindful world. I love that idea. A more mindful world. It feels like we could all use a little more peace and awareness these days.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most inspiring aspects of Goldstein's book. He reminds us that mindfulness is not just about personal transformation, it's also about creating a more compassionate and just world.
So it's not just about me feeling less stressed. It's about cultivating a way of being that ripples out and benefits everyone.
Precisely, when we're more mindful, we're more attuned to the suffering of others.
Yeah.
We see more clearly the ways in which we're all interconnected. And that awareness can inspire us to act with greater kindness, compassion, and wisdom.
That's powerful. It makes mindfulness seem less like a self-help technique.
Right.
And more like a path to creating positive change in the world.
It's both, and it's a path that is available to everyone, no matter who you are or what your background is.
That's so encouraging. So sometimes it feels like mindfulness is only for monks or people who live in caves and meditate all day?
Not at all. Goldstein emphasizes that mindfulness is for everyone.
Yeah.
It's about bringing awareness to the present moment, no matter where we are or what we're doing.
So whether I'm sitting in meditation, washing dishes, or stuck in traffic, I can practice mindfulness.
Right.
It's like a portable peace kit.
Exactly. And by bringing awareness to those everyday moments,
Yeah.
we begin to transform our lives one breath, one step, one dish at a time. It's not about becoming some perfect, enlightened being.
Right.
It's about showing up for life with greater awareness and compassion.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of mindfulness, thanks to Goldstein's insights and your expert guidance.
It's been a pleasure sharing these teachings with you. And remember, the path of mindfulness is always available.
Yeah.
Just as you can always return to the breath, you can always return to this practice.
That's a beautiful reminder. So as we wrap up this deep dive into mindfulness by Joseph Goldstein, what's one key takeaway that you hope listeners will glean from our conversation?
I hope listeners will walk away with a sense of hope and possibility. Mindfulness is not a quick fix, but a lifelong journey of awakening.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that's filled with challenges,
Yeah.
but also incredible rewards.
It's like we're planting seeds of awareness, and with patience and diligence, those seeds will blossom into a more peaceful and fulfilling life for ourselves and for the world around us.
That's beautifully said. And remember, even small moments of mindfulness can make a big difference over time. Each time you pause, each time you bring your attention to the present moment, you're cultivating that awareness, that inner peace. It's a practice that unfolds gradually, but the benefits are immeasurable.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. So take that first step. Embrace the present moment, cultivate awareness, and see what unfolds.
To our listeners, may your journey be filled with peace, joy, and awakening. And a special thanks to you for joining us on this deep dive into mindfulness. Until next time, keep practicing and keep exploring.